The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. A very happy Tuesday to everybody out there. Ben Anderson rolling solo today. Let's welcome in our next guest. He covers the NBA as a league. He's also the author of Tanking to the Top and a Hollywood Ending, the Dreams and Drama of the LeBron Lakers. It's Yaron Weitzman. What's going on, Yaron?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing terrific. I do want to talk some big picture NBA. We've been very focused on the Jazz here locally, obviously, and it's been an exciting week with the addition of Jaren Jackson Jr., but big picture in the NBA, I thought there was actually some interesting news that was right up your alley last night that maybe not everybody saw, but when asked after the Lakers fell to the Oklahoma City Thunder, kind of what they thought happened, LeBron said, well, you're comparing us to a championship team. He says, and we're clearly not a championship team. And I do think that's kind of an interesting, not resignation from LeBron, but, you know, admittance that this Lakers team is not going to get to the top again with he and Luka, and clearly the Lakers are going to move towards Luka. That's the right decision at this point. But how do you think that changes the next 25, 30 games for the Lakers and then the playoffs?
I mean, how it changes, I don't know. Like, they're going to keep trying to win games. You know, most teams, unlike half the NBA, which I guess we'll talk about at some point, but they'll keep trying to win games. I did find it pretty interesting, hilarious, and just I think LeBron enjoys sort of tweaking the front office a little bit. And he's aware, and I think I've talked about this when the book came out. Like, he's very aware. He has no problem with the idea of Luka being the guy. Like, LeBron is pretty self-aware, at least in terms of that stuff. And he knows that Luka's better than him now. I do think it probably frustrates him a little bit that the Lakers haven't gone all in to try to maximize his final year. And the stuff with LeBron, I always think, and I fall guilty of this too, like when we talk about him and sort of, you know, last year out of a has-been and all that stuff, and it's like, yeah, all true. He's also still really good. So, yeah, he's not a top 5 player, but he's a top 25 player. And the Lakers have knowingly basically punted before the Luka trade. They punted 2 years of his prime, of his final years, I should say. And that was strange. I think LeBron's still annoyed about this. I do think it's sort of this Cold War that's been taking place between LeBron, the front office, and last night, those comments were just sort of one last, barb from him.
Yeah, I guess, is that what you said, one last? Do you think that's going to be the last, or do you think this is going to be the theme? I mean, again, what does he have to lose? They didn't trade him. He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the summer. It seems like this marriage is about to end, and I don't think his career is going to end. And LeBron holds the biggest stake in the NBA. I mean, he is still the biggest power broker.
No, it's a good point, and the last one. It's a good question. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a good question, and I do think he's sort of enjoying this aspect of being the candid old man a little bit, right? And I can say whatever I want, partly because of his stature, partly because he's 41. And like, why can't he admit what we all see is that the Lakers are not as good as the Thunder and not a legitimate championship contender as constructed? I also think that's part of it, right? Like, two things can be true. It's not LeBron saying that they're not going to try. It's just in being honest about where the season will likely end. And I kind of respect that.
Is there going to be a happy ending here? I mean, they're not going to win a title, but is the ending of the LeBron run in L.A. going to be comfortable? Is it going to be smooth? Is it going to be, a mutual departure?
It's a great question. What I will tell you is nobody knows. I mean, I'm sure somebody knows. You know what I mean? Like LeBron and whoever else knows. But people removed from that don't know. And Rich Paul, if he knows, doesn't talk about it with anybody. Like, if people aren't aware, it sort of seems like we're heading for a ending here, and the Lakers have been seemingly waiting for him to say, I'm done. I'm done for a while. I always joke, Rob Pelinka in his preseason press conference was asked about LeBron, and his quote was, we'd love to see LeBron finish his story here. And I always add, what he left out was, and we hope that story ends right now, right? Like, they're kind of done with it. The question becomes where are we going? And that's where it gets a little weird. Everyone knows teams, Cleveland, Lakers, that's probably it, honestly. Maybe Golden State, maybe. Like, that would be one if you want to do it. You can kind of see it. Other than that, though, it's hard to figure out where you go. And so just the question to me becomes, like, does LeBron decide, you know what, I'll play on the mid-level or minimum, and I don't want to move my family if I'm not ready to retire yet. But the other aspect of this is the Lakers have new ownership, and none of us know how they plan on handling this situation or how they would handle this situation. So that's the other curveball here that I'm kind of unsure about.
All right, Yaron, you wrote a book called Tanking to the Top. It was about the Philadelphia 76ers and the quote-unquote process. But it's only grown worse in the NBA. Now, maybe not to the level that an individual team is doing what the 76ers did, but more teams are dabbling, and to the point where, honestly, there might be 14 teams, 12 teams in the NBA over these final 25 games of the season that are actively not all that interested in winning games. How serious do you think the NBA is about fixing this? How big of a problem do you think this actually is?
I think it's a huge problem, and I would say push back politely the idea that no teams are doing it as aggressively as the Sixers. Like, I was talking about it to somebody today. I don't know. We use the Jazz, for example. We've seen front offices tank. I don't know if we've seen coaching staff and star players on board the way to the extent that we're seeing this now, right? Like, where you have Will Hardy last night saying he wasn't going to put guys in. Like, that's new. The Nets, look at the Nets as an example, right? The Nets tank, but they sort of have to, Jordy Fernandez proof their roster to the idea that, like, he's going to try to win every game, so they have to give him a G League roster. Or someone like Lauri Markkanen seemingly willing to punt 3 years of his prime for some hope of a better future. So I think it's a huge problem, and it's starting off earlier now than we've ever seen. Like, we haven't even reached the All-Star break, and you can't find – if you could find one game every night featuring two teams trying to win, that feels like a win, right? So it's a huge problem. I think we're going to hear Adam Silver does a press conference at the All-Star weekend always. I think this is going to be a huge subject, and I think he's going to be hammered on it pretty hard, pretty aggressively. And I do think it's something the NBA needs to address.
Is it fixable?
That's a great question. So the sport, basketball by the nature of the sport is, it lends itself to tanking because there's no other equivalent of where one player can have such an impact on the team. It's almost like, I guess quarterback would be the greatest comparison we could think of, but, they play half the game, and it's 11-on-11. So it's fixable. I don't know if you'll ever fix it completely. I always feel like, it's a bit of a cop-out, but I always say, it's not my job to fix it. Like, they have people in the league office whose jobs these are to literally think of ideas and ways around this. I don't think you'll ever completely get rid of it, but there are things you can do. A good example is this, right? One of the fixes, not for tanking, but one of the measures the league put in recently to help address the lack of players tuning up was this idea that, like, for national championship games, right, the player participation policy, right? So if a team is on national TV and a star doesn't play, they get fined. So we've seen this happen with Cleveland and other teams. If you think about it, though, that does nothing to address tanking because teams like the Jazz and Wizards, the Bulls, whatever, these teams are not on national TV, right? The Nets. So you're absolving them from that policy. And basically, it becomes more hypocritical because you're punishing the teams who are trying to win, who rest the guy, as opposed to ignoring what's going on in the bottom third or now half of the league. So is it fixable? Like, not completely, but I think there's a vast middle ground that we've gone too far to one extreme.
I have tanking exhaustion 360 degrees. I mean, it's tired of watching the Jazz doing it. It's tired of trying to explain why because right now the truth is the strategy and the rules of the NBA reward it. So what am I getting mad at the Jazz for? They're doing what the league says they should be doing. I mean, like you said, you get the one player, it changes everything. So why would they not do that? On a big picture, you zoom out far enough, it is the right move towards winning, even if it means taking some losses here. So I'm a little exhausted talking about it and how to fix it, et cetera. So what do those other 14 teams do over these final 25 games of the season, or 16 teams that are trying to make the playoffs? What is the biggest storyline, you think, after the All-Star break in the NBA outside of tanking?
I mean, there's a couple. The Knicks, just there's a lot of pressure there. They fired Thibodeau. It basically means like championship or bust, which is a hard bar to clear. And they have a lot of high-priced veterans, and they have an owner who is famously reactionary. So you talk about a big market team with lots of pressure. That's one certainly that I'd be paying attention to. I'm also Tatum, whether he comes back and what the impact would be on the Celtics. That's another big one for me. I'm also curious to see I think the Western Conference playoff battles can be really fun if we have those teams healthy. Like, I think we can get a really, really awesome second round of playoffs and on. If you have teams like the Thunder and Spurs and Nuggets and Rockets and Lakers and all these other teams sort of battling it out. So to me, those are some of the major ones for sure. And then obviously we have to all wait, and then we'll be on Giannis watch in, again, was it 3 months from now, 4 months now? We'll start all over again.
Yeah,
naturally.
speaking of exhausting stories. Yeah, can't wait for that one.
Exactly.
The East, we focus on the West, and the East is a little bit of a running joke, hence the Jazz beating the Miami Heat, who are going to easily make the playoffs, and the Jazz are trying to lose a game, and the Heat can't get a victory. And the same could be said of Orlando, and the Jazz have beaten Cleveland already, and they've beaten Boston already this year. Like, it's not a banner year for the Eastern Conference. With that said, you look forward, and, like, there might not be a more fun story right now in the NBA than the Charlotte Hornets, minus the brawl they got into last night.
Yeah.
We might be steamrolling towards a James Harden-led Cleveland Cavaliers team facing off against Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round. Like, that's going to be an awesome series. Jason Tatum is apparently back with the Celtics G League team. The Pistons are one of the most fun teams in the NBA. The Eastern Conference actually might kind of have a cool playoff series this year.
No, I actually built it. I completely agree. I think in general, I think the playoffs are going to be a lot of fun. I think the NBA cannot wait for the playoffs to start, right? So you can focus on the product. And that, again, not to go back to tanking, that kind of relates to it. That one, like there are some really interesting, fun storylines happening in the league now. A lot of young players on the rise who we're going to see if they have their playoff moments, whether it's Victor or Kate Cunningham, guys like that. The Hornets are a ton of fun. Like I was excited to put that Pistons-Hornets game on last night. I live in New York at 7 o'clock. Like I joke to the 7 o'clock tip-off, I guess 5 o'clock your time, right? That's an abyss usually. It's usually Hornets, Wizards, Heat, who am I forgetting? All these junky Eastern Conference teams, right? And
a lot of Brooklyn games.
Yeah, Brooklyn, yeah. So to have a Hornets game at 7, and like I was like genuinely excited. And then you put it on and you saw the excitement. I don't know if anyone watched it, but if you watched the first half, I mean, even into the brawl, clearly, like the excitement that fans had for that game, that was matched by the players very clearly. Like everyone was into that, and it was a ton of fun. So I do think the playoffs are going to be a blast. I certainly agree, and I think it's going to be a cool, or we have, I don't want to say changing the guard, but either we're having a budding dynasty with the Thunder, or we're going to have somebody new emerge, and I think that's a lot of fun when we see that happen.
It does feel like the West, a lot of the focus right now is on 3 teams. Obviously, the reigning champion, Thunder. The Spurs have seemingly had their number this season, some of them without Shea. One of them, the NBA is actually looking at the Thunder to see if they were not tanking, but resting too many guys in a big game. They're being investigated today. And then, of course, the Nuggets, who have been revolutionary minus last night's loss and still seem very competitive. Let me ask, is there a team outside of those 3 that you think could upset the apple cart and could actually come out of the West?
Come out of the West? I mean, Houston's offense has looked like garbage recently. I don't buy it. I think in the playoffs that's going to be hard. Their entire offense seems to be either Kevin Durant hit a contested jumper or Steven Adams go get the offensive rebounds. Steven Adams is out now, so that's a problem. Minnesota, I don't see it. I know some other people kind of are. I think other people are higher than me. To me, I just don't see the talent is there, and they're a little funky, and not having a point guard is not great. Anthony Edwards, though, is one of these guys who, like, he can be the best player in a 7-game series, no matter who they're playing, right? That's in the cards. So that's a possibility. But to me, it's one of the other 3 those would be one of those 3. I'd be stunned if one of those 3 doesn't emerge and represent the West in the finals.
You can find him on Twitter at Yaron Weitzman. You can read his books, Tanking to the Top, about the Philadelphia 76ers, and A Hollywood Ending, the dreams and drama of the LeBron Lakers. Yaron, great stuff. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks for having me.
There he is, Yaron Weitzman. You can also find him online, yaronweitzman.com. Good stuff there. Interesting run here. Again, the tanking is a major issue. The Jazz are going to suffer through it for the next 30 games. They are going to get out of this mess, and then the NBA is going to seriously try to address it, and I think it's going to be another part of Danny Ainge's legacy. As much as I don't blame Danny Ainge for what the Jazz are doing, I do think the NBA, for some reason, is going to blame Danny for tanking and making aggressive steps. At least the narrative is going to be that this was a Danny-led thing, and the Jazz are going to quickly skate out of the tanking racing right as the league starts to be more aggressive about enforcing some of their policies. Hey, coming up on Thursday, you can join JJ and Alex at the RV show from 3 to 6 at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. It's your opportunity to shop, compare, and buy the RV of your dreams, but they have way more than just RVs, camping equipment. Maybe you want to rough it. Maybe you just like your traditional tent. They have things for you as well. Go check out the RV show this Thursday, 3 to 6 at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Cole Bagley joins us in studio. Coming up next, stick around. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.